After nearly 170 years and dozens of searches, scientists have located one of the ships from the fabled Franklin expedition.
From ancient myths of armies that vanished into thin air to the mystifying sailing stones that seem to move on their own, history is filled with spine-tingling enigmas that science has finally begun solving. As layer upon layer of mystery gets peeled back, startling clarity emerges regarding tales once thought mere myths. Join us as we show you the top 20 creepiest mysteries that were finally solved. Number 20. The Lost Franklin Expedition. In 1845, the Franklin expedition, led by British Royal Navy officer Sir John Franklin, set out from England in search of the fabled Northwest Passage through the Arctic. Franklin commanded two ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, manned by 128 seasoned officers and sailors. Passing through Baffin Bay, the expedition spent the summer of 1845 mapping and surveying the Canadian Arctic archipelago. In July, local Inuits spotted Franklin's ships anchored off King William Island. It was the last time anyone saw the expedition afloat. As months stretched into years with no word from the expedition, Franklin's wife spearheaded search efforts, urging the Admiralty to dispatch rescue missions. Between 1845 and 1859, more than 30 expeditions were launched, none successful in locating survivors or conclusively determining the expedition's fate. For over 160 years, the full story of the doomed voyage remained shrouded in mystery. The lost expedition haunted the Victorian imagination, spurring songs, poems, and paintings memorializing the 129 men who perished in the Arctic wastes. But the 2014 discovery of Franklin's flagship HMS Erebus, followed by the wreck of HMS Terror in 2016, unlocked secrets of the voyage's final chapters. Studies of the well-preserved ships revealed that both had been crushed and sunk by advancing sea ice. Extensive searches across King William Island unearthed hundreds of artifacts, remnants of a desperate bid for survival as the expedition disintegrated. Modern science also illuminated the crew's final days. Examinations of remains disclosed lethal levels of lead in the sailors' bones, likely caused by poorly soldered tinned food cans. As supplies dwindled, the debilitating effects of lead poisoning compounded the daily struggle against cold and starvation. Analysis of bones and dental remains further indicated acts of cannibalism among the last survivors. Trapped by the advancing ice, racked by sickness and hunger, even the bravest souls would have succumbed to the relentless Arctic. Number 19. The Umbrella Man. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy in Dallas remains one of the most analyzed and controversial events in American history. Photographs and film footage shot that fateful day have been scrutinized frame by frame by investigators seeking clues surrounding the murder. Among the more bizarre and intriguing figures captured in Dealey Plaza is a man holding a large black umbrella, standing alone amid the crowds gathered to greet JFK's motorcade. Given the sunny, rainless weather that day in Dallas, this Umbrella Man sparked endless speculation. Why would a man unfurl an umbrella on a perfect day for an outdoor presidential visit? Could the umbrella have concealed a weapon? Was the Umbrella Man a conspirator signaling to other assassins? His purpose remains shrouded for 15 years following the assassination. In 1978, a fringe publication revealed the man under the umbrella to be Louis Stephen Witt, an insurance salesman and Kennedy conspiracy theorist. Witt stated he brought the umbrella that day as a form of symbolic protest against JFK's appeasement foreign policy. The umbrella was a reference to British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, known for appeasing Hitler's territorial demands before World War II. Chamberlain often carried an umbrella. Witt intended the umbrella as an obscure political statement, unrelated to the conspiracy. Number 18. The Legend of the Lost Army. In 524 BCE, the Persian king Cambyses II allegedly sent an army of 50,000 soldiers into Egypt's desert to destroy the oracle at Siwa. According to legend, this massive army was buried by a sandstorm and never heard from again. For centuries, this story was considered a tall tale. The Greek historian Herodotus first recorded it, and he was known for embellishing facts. The supposed size of Cambyses' army also seemed improbably large for the period. With no archaeological evidence, most scholars dismissed the story as a myth. Remarkably, in 2009, two Italian archaeologists named Angelo and Alfredo Castiglione discovered the first archaeological evidence supporting the lost army's existence. While exploring near the Siwa Oasis, they unearthed artifacts dated to Cambyses's era, including arrowheads, horse harnesses, and skeletons buried by sand. According to the University of Leicester, this remarkable find provided the first archaeological evidence of the story's veracity. Although many questions remain, archaeology has transformed legend into a truthful possibility. Cambyses's defeat by the shifting sands of Egypt may be one of those rare myths rooted in real tragedy. The vast vanished army of Cambyses II now demands its place alongside Troy, King Arthur, and other legends proven more fact than fable. Number 17. The story of Amnesiac Pierre. In May 1992, police found a middle-aged man wandering in San Diego with no memory of his identity. Unable to provide his name, medical history, or any biographical details, he was essentially a man without a past. Pierre was the only name he could recall. Doctors determined Pierre was suffering from dissociative amnesia, or a fugue state. Though healthy physically, some trauma had wiped clean the slate of his identity. For months, intensive efforts by authorities failed to uncover any clues to Pierre's background. His astonishing case of retrograde amnesia captivated the media. In September, Pierre's story was featured on Unsolved Mysteries in hopes of a breakthrough. Watching intently, Pierre saw and heard nothing to trigger his memory. But the broadcast caught the eye of a woman who knew him, Carol Whitney, a co-worker from his former life in Orange County. Thanks to her tip, authorities confirmed Pierre was April Carlos, reported missing. Reunited with Whitney, Carlos's memory slowly rebuilt, though patches remained lost forever. Doctors theorized stress had caused Carlos to subconsciously erase his identity and start life anew. For 4 months, Pierre moved through the world unmoored from his past, until a televised plea for help unlocked the road home. His profound amnesia remains one of medicine's most extraordinary cases, proof that our sense of self resides as much in memory as the body that houses it. Number 16. Fate of the Mary Celeste. On December 4, 1872, the American merchant ship Mary Celeste was found adrift and abandoned in the North Atlantic, off the Azores Islands. The crew was never seen again, yet the ship was seaworthy, with 6 months' worth of supplies on board. The Mary Celeste's fate became the most enduring maritime mysteries of all time. Theories abounded, from mutiny and pirate attacks to paranormal interference, but logical clues pointed towards an orderly abandonment. The crew's personal items were missing, while the ship's cargo and valuables remained untouched. The lifeboat was gone, indicating an evacuation, not an attack. No obvious theories, however, explained why a seasoned crew would abruptly desert a sound, seaworthy vessel. Recent analysis suggests a combination of factors doomed the voyage. The Mary Celeste carried 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol, a highly flammable cargo capable of producing explosive fumes. On the day the ship was abandoned, the log noted small explosions, possibly from alcohol vapor igniting in the hold. Spooked by the blasts, the captain perhaps suspected worse to come and ordered evacuation onto the lifeboats. Simultaneously, the ship was tossed by rough seas that possibly dislodged equipment, while navigational errors placed it dangerously close to shoals. Adrift and taking on water, the inebriated crew likely misjudged the true circumstances. Fearing a catastrophic explosion, they hastily abandoned the ship, hoping to row to safety. Tragically, the lifeboats never reached land. This composite theory best fits the subtle clues gleaned from contemporaneous accounts. A tale of human fallibility transforming manageable mishaps into inadvertent tragedy. Number 15. The Lost Colony at Roanoke. The Lost Colony at Roanoke is one of history's most haunting mysteries. In 1587, English colonists landed at Roanoke Island off North Carolina to establish a permanent settlement. Governor John White returned to England for provisions, only to be stranded there for 3 years amid war with Spain. When he finally returned in 1590, the colony was deserted. The settlers had vanished. The only clue was the word Croatoan carved on a post. Croatoan was the name of a nearby island and Native American tribe. For centuries, the fate of the lost colony was intensely speculated upon. Did they die of famine or disease? Fall victim to natural disaster or Spanish attack? Claims of sightings persisted, but no definitive trace was ever found. In 2015, archaeologists studying artifacts found on Hatteras Island reached startling conclusions. They discovered 16th century English items mixed with Croatoan artifacts. DNA testing revealed ancestral ties between the modern Croatoan tribe and members of the lost colony. This evidence implies at least some settlers survived by assimilating with the Croatoans, upending conventional explanations. The modern Croatoan people preserve accounts of ancestors adopting refugees from an abandoned colony. Scholars now believe remnants of the Roanoke colonists may have been absorbed into the tribe. A survivor population best fits the archaeological record and aligns with Virginia Indian oral traditions. By intermingling, the colonists secured their tenuous survival in a harsh land, a successful fusion of cultures memorialized in folklore. Number 14. The Palding Light in Michigan. Along a remote forest road in Michigan's Upper Peninsula sits an intriguing paranormal legend, the Palding Light. Local lore tells of mysterious glowing orbs that can be seen floating above a valley outside the tiny town of Palding. The phenomena conjure stories of ghosts, supernatural beings, or wandering spirits associated with railroad accidents from a century past. The lights draw curiosity seekers and paranormal enthusiasts hoping to witness the unexplained. The Palding Light was first observed in the 1960s. Residents noted strange, flickering lights hovered above the waters of the Ontonagon River. The lights appeared to blink on and off, ranging in color from white to red to green. They floated and swayed as if carried at walking speed. The phenomenon was confined to a specific section of roadway cutting through a sparsely settled valley. Tales arose attributing the ghost lights to a railroad worker beheaded in an accident or a wandering father searching for his children. Explanations for the Palding Light ranged from the supernatural to some natural electricity or geomagnetic anomaly. However, in 2010, students from Michigan Tech University put the mystery to rest. They set up equipment to monitor traffic across the valley and synchronized observations of the light with car headlights traveling at a distance. Their data revealed a definitive match. The Palding Light was simply the headlights of vehicles several miles away, strangely distorted by temperature inversions in the valley. Number 13. The Summerton Man. On the morning of December 1, 1948, the body of a well-dressed but unidentified man was discovered propped against a sea wall at Summerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia.
An Adelaide researcher claiming he's identified the Summerton Man as Carl Charles Webb.
The case quickly became one of Australia's most profound mysteries. The unknown man carried no identification. Papers in his pockets revealed only the cryptic phrase "tamam shud," meaning finished in Persian. An autopsy disclosed lethal poisoning but yielded few other clues. Despite public appeals and widespread media coverage, the Summerton Man's identity and death remained unfathomable for over 60 years. In 1949, investigators received an anonymous phone call suggesting a link between the mystery man and a copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a book of Persian poetry. This rare edition was located in the back seat of an unlocked car near the beach. On the inside cover were penciled letters in an indecipherable code. Police suspected the victim had concealed his identity by removing labels from his clothing. The case was finally cracked in 2009 when D-type DNA testing and genealogical tracing positively identified the Summerton Man as Carl Webb, an electrical engineer who had abandoned his wife and children. The unknown man of Summerton Beach turned out to be Carl Webb, but his death remains one of Australia's most confounding cold cases. The cause of death was never determined. Some believe Webb was an undercover intelligence agent or involved in espionage, which led to his murder, a tantalizing theory that may never be proved. Number 12. Bloop of the Ocean. In the summer of 1997, the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration detected an astonishing sound. A powerful, ultra-low frequency burst that reverberated through the Pacific Ocean. The sound was picked up over a network of underwater microphones used for monitoring seismic events. Dubbed the Bloop, it stood out as something uniquely strange. The noise rose rapidly to peak amplitude and vanished just as quickly, lasting under a minute. But its sheer volume was astonishing, powerful enough to be measured from sensors located up to 3,000 miles apart. The mysterious bloop baffled and captivated the public. Its animal-like quality led many to speculate it was made by some gigantic unknown sea creature. Wild theories swirled, asserting it was a leviathan lurking in the abyss, or even a colossal monster like Cthulhu from the tales of horror writer H.P. Lovecraft. Yet over a decade passed with no further recordings and no consensus on the bloop's origin. Then, in 2012, NOAA scientists definitively traced the sound to its source. Data analysts carefully examined the bloop's acoustic signature and compared it to known natural sounds. They conclusively matched the bloop's distinct pattern, frequency, and fluctuation with the sound profile of an icequake, the sudden cracking and rupture of an ice shelf. NOAA concluded that an icequake in the Southern Ocean had generated the massive, strange sound that was recorded across the Pacific, debunking suggestions of monsters or unknown beasts. The bloop was ruled a natural occurrence, however rare and mysterious it may be. Number 11. The cause of the Black Death. The Black Death was perhaps the greatest public health disaster in history, claiming an estimated 200 million lives in the 14th century. The disease ravaged bustling cities across Europe and Asia at a time when medical science offered little means to combat epidemic illnesses. Understanding of the Black Death's origins remained clouded in mystery and myth for centuries. Many attributed its spread to poisoned air, planetary alignment, or the wrath of God. In 1894, a breakthrough came when French bacteriologist Alexandre Yersin isolated the bacillus that caused bubonic plague in modern outbreaks. His discovery suggested the same pathogen was responsible for the 14th century pandemic. Japanese researcher Kitasato Shibasaburo soon reached the same conclusion, tracing the Black Death bacillus to rat fleas carrying the infection. The Black Death bacterium was conclusively identified as Yersinia pestis in analyses of human remains in mass graves dating to the 14th century. Extracting DNA from skeletons of plague victims, scientists verified the presence of genetic sequences unique to Y. pestis. The results provided ironclad confirmation that this notorious pathogen spawned the most severe epidemic in recorded history. Similar DNA testing on bones from 14th century cemeteries across Europe bolstered the link. By combining microbiology and genetic analysis, the exact origins of the Black Death were illuminated after 6 centuries of uncertainty. It was one of history's greatest medical mysteries, solved at last through the scientific method, empirical evidence patiently gathered by generations of researchers. Number 10. The Voic Manuscript. The Voic Manuscript is a perplexing 15th century book filled with strange illustrations and text written in an unknown alphabet and language. Discovered in 1912 by Polish book dealer Wilfrid Voynich, the 240-page vellum manuscript has confounded linguists and cryptographers for over a century. The Voynich manuscript contains botanical drawings depicting no known plants, astronomical charts of unknown constellations, and biological illustrations of surreal tubular structures. The unknown language is composed of over 170,000 glyphs with an elaborate internal structure, suggesting they hold meaning. Statistical analysis shows the text has organizational properties common to real languages. Some theorists believe the manuscript was a medieval hoax, but most scholars believe the book contains real information written in an undeciphered language. Proposed theories range from a treatise on alchemy or mysticism to an extinct language like Basque. In 2019, University of Bristol researchers used linguistics algorithms to analyze the manuscript's linguistic patterns. They found it shares statistical features with real languages, specifically Proto-Romance languages like Vulgar Latin. This hints the text may be an early form of a language related to modern Romance languages like Italian. While debate persists, these computational studies represent great progress in unraveling the Voynich manuscript's secrets. Its meaning may always remain obscure, but modern forensic techniques are gradually illuminating this centuries-old mystery. Number 9. The Sailing Stones of Death Valley. Death Valley National Park is home to one of the world's most puzzling phenomena: rocks that seem to move across the desert floor of their own accord. At the racetrack Playa dry lake bed, stones weighing up to 700 pounds and leaving meandering trails behind them, etched into the mud surface. Some rocks have traveled over 300 feet, yet no one has actually witnessed them in motion. For decades, theories abounded attributing the sailing stones to supernatural forces, magnetic fields, or pranksters. The phenomenon inspired flights of fancy, but science would eventually solve the puzzle. In 2014, researchers finally caught the movement on camera and deduced the exact mechanism enabling the sailing stones. The secret lies in a rare confluence of conditions, only occurring in Death Valley's extreme environment. In winter, the playa occasionally floods with a thin, shallow layer of water. Freezing temperatures at night cause this pool to crystallize into sheets of ice that encase the scattered stones. As day breaks, the ice begins melting. Gusts of wind catch the ice rafts and propel them across the slick, muddy ground, with the embedded stones in tow. Pressure variations keep some rocks firmly in place while others glide. When the ice melts completely, a stone ceases moving, leaving a telltale trail behind it. The sailing stones have been demystified by time-lapse photography and meteorological monitoring, revealing nature's hand behind this intriguing phenomenon. Number 8. The Tunguska Event. On June 30, 1908, a cataclysmic explosion flattened over 800 square miles of remote Siberian forest near the Podkamennaya Tunguska River. Witnesses saw a blazing fireball streak through the sky, followed by a massive blast. Seismic vibrations from the explosion circled the globe twice and were detected across Asia and Europe, yet no crater or meteorite fragments were found. With no obvious explanation, the Tunguska event spawned theories about comet collisions, matter-antimatter annihilation, and crashed alien spaceships. Scientific expeditions scoured the site, finding downed trees radiating outward from a central point. Meteorite impacts leave corresponding craters and rocky remnants, yet no fragments or craters were found at Tunguska. The explosion occurred about 5 miles above the surface, seemingly ruling out an Earth impact. The mystery was definitively solved when chemical analysis of tree resin from the explosion era showed traces of meteoritic metals like nickel and iridium. This indicated the blast was caused by a mid-air disintegration of an iron asteroid or comet about 120 feet wide. Traveling at over 33,500 miles per hour, the body exploded before reaching the ground, unleashing 1,000 Hiroshima bombs worth of energy in a massive airburst over Siberia. 8 decades of research conclusively tied the world's largest cosmic blast to the fiery end of an asteroid, solving one of the atmosphere's most explosive secrets. Number 7. King Tut's tomb. In 1922, British archaeologist Howard Carter astonished the world by uncovering an astonishing treasure: the intact tomb of Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings. Unlike other royal tombs that had been extensively looted over the millennia, Tutankhamun's burial chamber survived largely undisturbed, revealing a wealth of artifacts and statuary. Tutankhamun was a relatively minor king who ruled Egypt briefly during the 14th century BCE, dying unexpectedly around age 19. His richly endowed tomb fueled theories that more impressive tombs belonging to greater pharaohs like Ramses II must also await discovery hidden in the hills along the Nile. However, subsequent excavations found no comparable royal crypts. It became clear that Tutankhamun was blessed by circumstance. His brief reign meant royal resources expended on other pharaohs were directed to King Tut's tomb. Its location was buried deep under debris, and the tomb of another king kept it hidden from ancient looters. Over 5,000 priceless artifacts filled its chambers, including sarcophagi, ritual objects, jewelry, sculptures, and the iconic funeral mask, the most significant window into ancient Egypt found in modern times. King Tut's tomb endured millennia to unveil its splendors thanks to historical accident. A modest king whose unexpected death led to an outsized burial, secreted in a hidden corner of the valley to rest undisturbed through the centuries. Chance created an archaeological miracle. Number 6. The Connecticut Vampire. In 1990, an unusual skeleton was unearthed in Griswold, Connecticut. The remains showed signs considered to be consistent with vampirism at the time: an arrangement of skull bones and the inclusion of a sickle across the body. Locals dubbed the skeleton JB55, a name derived from a brass plate accompanying the bones marked with JB55. The age, human origins, and strange burial conditions of JB55 fueled wild speculation that a real vampire had been discovered. However, modern forensic analysis provided a more mundane explanation. Researchers determined JB55 was a normal, middle-aged male around 55 years old at death. Hence, the JB55 moniker. Additionally, an 1890 newspaper article was found describing a vampire being exhumed in neighboring Jewett City. The report likely documented JB55's exhumation and reburial in Griswold, a common practice at the time, to protect against consumption victims believed to be undead. JB55 likely died of tuberculosis, which causes bloody coughs mistaken for vampirism. Rather than a lurid tale of the supernatural, JB55's unusual interment reflects 19th century New England superstitions and erroneous medical beliefs. The consumption epidemic made vampirism a morbid regional obsession. JB55's exhumation and peculiar reburial represented efforts to contain an imagined vampire threat, transformed through modern science into a poignant window into the darker corners of regional folklore. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Across the internet, we sometimes encounter stories of people with abilities that seem almost superhuman, which can be hard to believe. Recently, a girl gained attention due to her superhuman intelligence and memory. Allegedly, she can memorize anything with just a glance and recall every single moment of her life, including the exact month, day, and time of any event, as well as things that were in the news or happened to other people. She became famous for her abilities and appeared on many news programs. Finally, some researchers met with her and uncovered the mystery behind her powers. She has highly superior autobiographical memory, an extremely rare condition allowing total recall of virtually every moment of one's life. What are your thoughts on stories like this that seem almost too amazing to be true? Let us know in the comments below. Number 5. The Impossible Sculpture. In Scotland's National Museum, a small sculpture depicting the Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses II posed a mystery. The figure's lap contained a second individual whose face was missing. Confounding archaeologists, the lap figure clearly wasn't a royal, as pharaohs were never shown seated with commoners in ancient Egyptian art. In 2021, the puzzle was solved by Egyptologist Dr. Margaret Maitland of the National Museum. Tracing the object's provenance revealed the statue originated from a temple in Deir el-Medina, a village for artisans working on royal tombs. Significantly, this community was exceptionally permitted to portray non-royals alongside kings in their art. Maitland proposed the lap figure represents a key member of the cult temple, possibly even its founder, known as Ramos. By identifying its unique place of origin, the sculpture's bizarre arrangement was finally explained. Number 4. Blood Falls in Antarctica. In the Taylor Glacier of East Antarctica flows a dramatic crimson cascade known as blood falls. This striking phenomenon was first documented in 1911 by Australian geologist Griffith Taylor, who initially believed the red coloring was due to red algae. Scientists were mystified as to why algae would thrive in such an inhospitable environment. Blood Fall's vivid coloration against the icy backdrop mesmerized visitors for decades. In 2017, researchers finally discovered the fall's secret. The red coloration is not biological, but caused by oxidized iron. Blood falls form when an underground lake rich in iron emerges at the surface. When this iron-laden water makes contact with oxygen, the iron oxidizes, turning the water blood red. The iron source is believed to be sediments deposited into a basin long ago when the Taylor Glacier advanced overtop it. Frozen in time beneath the glacier, the isolated lake provides a unique window into ancient marine ecosystems, uncontaminated and intact. Blood Falls continues to intrigue and inspire awe, no longer as a biological anomaly, but as a vivid time capsule preserving vestiges of Antarctica's geological past for us to decipher. Number 3. The Truth About the Starchild Skull. The Starchild Skull, with its unusual elongated shape and oversized cranium, sparked a heated debate after its discovery in Mexico in the 1930s. Promoted by paranormal enthusiasts, the skull became infamous as purported evidence of alien-human hybridization. However, scientific analysis has definitively proven the sensational claims about the skull's origin false. In 2004, researchers conducted a maxillofacial reconstruction of the skull. This revealed clear evidence of deformations consistent with hydrocephalus, a congenital disorder characterized by brain swelling and skull enlargement. DNA testing demonstrated the Starchild skull belonged to a human male with genetic markers linked to Native American ancestry. Mainstream scientists roundly rejected the hypothesis of the skull representing an alien hybrid child. Tragically, the skull's anomalous form was the result of hydrocephaly. Radiocarbon dating has placed the remains around 1000 AD, coinciding with the prevalence of hydrocephalus cases amongst populations in Mexico's Copper Canyon. Rather than revealing evidence of aliens, the unfortunate individual buried centuries ago as the Starchild opens a window into the lives and health of ancient indigenous communities. Number 2. Ancient Maya Calendar. The elaborate calendar system of the ancient Maya civilization was one of the greatest mysteries of Mesoamerica. At its core were two interconnected calendars, the 365-day Hab solar calendar and the 260-day Zolkin, used for divining auspicious dates. The two calendars meshed together perfectly only once every 52 years, in a period known as a calendar round. The brilliance of the Maya calendar system is its advanced astronomical alignments across centuries. But how exactly the Maya achieved these alignments remained obscure until recently. In 2021, a breakthrough came when researchers statistically correlated astronomical data with Maya calendar inscriptions. They found that by combining 20 calendar rounds over 1,508 years, the Maya calendar synchronizes with the full rotational cycles of Venus, Mars, and other observable planets. This discovery demonstrates the Maya calendar's sophistication and its careful astronomical observations. By unraveling the complex mathematics underpinning the calendar, the Maya civilization continues to impress and inspire us over 1,000 years later. Number 1. Honeycombed Skull. In 1480, the Italian city of Otranto was invaded by Ottoman forces, leading to the execution of 800 inhabitants who refused to convert. Today, the massive Otranto Cathedral crypt displays the skulls and bones of these Christian martyrs. One skull, known as the Otranto skull, contains 16 perfectly round holes, confusing historians as to their purpose. The holes represent an early medical practice, part of Catholic reliquary culture, whereby saints' bones were believed to have healing properties. In 2015, an analysis by Italian scientists determined the Otranto holes were precision cuts made by a medieval surgical saw. Multiple holes maximized the amount of bone powder harvested for consumption by the sick. Though grim by modern standards, the Otranto skull reflects how reverence for relics intersected with medieval medicine. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.